I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book The Seven Contact series, no other than Mr. Mark Rains. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Mark, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, I'm Mark Anthony Rains. I live in a lovely little country called the UK, which most of the time is raining. Um, I like to write books. I'm a cartoonist. I'm a blogger. I'm a YouTube creator. I'm a bit of a weirdo, and that's basically me.
Mr. Mark Rains, what is the first step in planning and writing Seven Contact series?
Well, basically, you have to come up with the idea that comes in your head. So you sort of think an idea, um, like a light bulb lights up. You're thinking to yourself, oh, where can I take this? Because you have to start with some a character, and then you have to think, where is their journey going to go? Because you sort of try to plan ahead. So you sort of like thinking, oh, that story can go there, that story can go there. But in between, you've got to fill that space like all authors do. And then you've got to see, plan the speaking and how to describe the worlds they're going to, how they would interact with different beings, because it's not a normal everyday thing that you do as you're walking around in your on around town. Oh, hello there, alien. You know,
So, Mr. Mark, how did you develop a compelling plot for Seven Contact?
well, the compelling plot. I listened to a lot of the old horror radio shows, and they have got a lot of plot emphasis stories, and they build it slowly. From like they get you involved in the story. They slowly build you up, build you up, build you up, and then they hook you in with like the end, like the surprise ending or the horror ending or whatever. And that inspired me because I thought, how can you transfer radio audio ideas into a book idea? Although it's more based in the science fiction world, but horror and science fiction are quite intermixed a lot when you listen to the old Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits.
So, what are your strategies that you implemented in creating memorable and relatable characters in Seven Contact?
I think you've got to be inspired by the people around you. You know, as you know, when you write a book, you put a little bit of yourself in a character or your experiences. Somehow, say you experience grief, so sometimes you would put that character would be you put your grief into that character's story, so you can relate it to why they would chase somebody because they were they killed your family member or something like that. Or then you would get it, and that, as you meet other people, you can think, oh, they would make a good side character where you've got to bring it in. I think some all good stories should have a little bit of comedy in them, just to break the the routine. Because when you see a good story, sometimes there's an element of comedy in there just to break it up, so that the next minute when you come in with a really heavy, oh, this is the end of the world kind of scenario, people are not expecting it so much.
How did you choose the right point of view for your narrative in the Seven Contact?
That was a tricky one because I don't think you can ever really think you've got the right point of view because in your head it might be the right point of view, but you are always reliant on the fact that because you've established the plot line, you're hoping that people get the right point of view from what you've written. Because I don't think you can ever thor- thoroughly um, know what people want from you.
So, Mr. Mark Rains, thank you so much for your novel Seven Contacts, and thank you for sharing your talents to the world. And I hope you will continue doing writing the series. So, how did you effectively outline your book, Seven Contact?
Well, it's like all good writers. You see most writers, they've always got like if you take J.K. Rowling for example, you have it a board, great big board, and then you write down the characters, da, 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 and then you go right, like a storyboard for film. You know, when you do film, they do the storyboards, so they know where they want to go. That's a similar process.
So, what are some tips for writing engaging dialogue between characters in your Seven Contact?
Well, let's see. Just imagine that they're at a table and you're picturing them together, character A, character B, talking the dialogue you want to do with them, and then you're thinking to yourself, would that character talk that dialogue to that character? Because when you meet different people, you talk different ways to that person. So if it's a family member, you would talk to them more friendlier, more you'd be more honest, be more open. But if it's a stranger that you don't never met, you're going to be a bit guarded. So you have to have that guarded conversation piece.
So, how did you handle writer's block and stay motivated throughout the writing process of Seven Contact?
Well, writing block happens to everybody. No matter what writer, whoever's written has always had writer's block, unfortunately. But it's a hard process to beat. I think you just got to step back, go for a walk, listen to some music, go away for a little while, then come back, look at the pages, and then think to yourself, right, where am I going to go now? And then just slowly write down one sentence. Then one sentence comes two. And then slowly but surely you come back to it. But that process can be like over months. It won't be like yesterday it would come back. It can be some cases it could take years to get over writer's block. It's a very strange thing. It's a very strange phenomenon. And most people don't understand why people get like that. But I think it's because you've been thinking so long about the story, about the characters, about the development, that you come involved so much with the characters that your brain can no longer take it. So it just decides, no, I've had enough of this. And it decides to switch off.
So, what are the key elements of a strong opening chapter of Seven Contact?
Well, the strong elements, I think, are I'm not too really sure because I've never really thought of that one. Because sometimes as you write, you just don't think about shock elements. You just think, oh, I hope that comes across. And I never really thought of that one. That's a good question. No, I haven't thought of that. Sorry about that.
No worries. So, how did you ensure your book has satisfying and impactful ending?
Well, that's a tricky one because, as you know, everything you've ever watched on TV, every film you've ever watched or done or seen, every show you've ever watched, you're never truly happy with the ending. So you, as an author or director or whatever, you think of your ending that you prefer or like or think the reader will enjoy thinking about or reading about. And you think to yourself, well, that's the one I'm going to go for. And if that's the message I wanted to convey comes across, I hope it works. It's magic.
Definitely. So, what are some common mistakes you avoid when writing Seven Contact?
The most common mistake is, believe it or not, is when you write down the character, you end up writing the same dialogue again, or you might write the same background stuff again. You think, oh, I've already written that bit. So you've got to write little notes saying that bit's done, that bit's done. And also you got to check your spelling. I know it's a strange thing to say, but you, spelling is a major thing when you, but it's an easy mistake to do because when you're writing, you don't concentrate too much on the spelling words correctly. So then you've got to re-edit your own stuff to make sure that the spelling is all correct and the grammar seems correct. Obviously, you've got all your auto programs you can get, but you've got to sort of still go over that again to make sure that even they've got it correct because obviously there's auto language tends to be American English, and there's a big difference between American English and English English.
So, how did you balance showing versus telling in your narrative?
Can you say that again?
How did you balance showing versus telling in your narrative?
Yeah, that was a difficult one because it's a fine line between the both because you don't want to you want to make sure that people know what you're saying in the story. But as you're telling the story, you want to make sure that you're getting that balance more or less how you think it should be. I mean, sometimes you think you've got it wrong. You read it back and you think, oh, I don't think that's right. But then you leave it and thinking, I'll let the reader judge whether it's okay or not.
Okay, so Mr. Mark, what role that research play in Seven Contact?
Oh, research is everything. And like every good author who wants to put any detail of any content, you have to research to make sure that you know it's possible. It might be a bit more out there, but the theory behind everything is always a theory is somewhere out in the world about time travel, uh, combustion engines, suspended emanation, you name it, there's a theory out there. So you read them and think, ah, that is feasible. Obviously not at the moment, but they have talked about it. So you can use little bits of that elements of the research.
So, how did you develop your unique writing voice and style in Seven Contact?
I just think it comes naturally. I don't think you know what style you have until you start writing it. I think that yet again it comes a lot from your personality. A lot of you is in the book so that it becomes your baby. So obviously you're going to put a lot more work into it because that's your project, that's your baby, that's the one you want to put all the research in, all the power, all your effort into to making, hoping that somewhere out there people might like what you do.
What is your inspiring message for those aspiring writer out there?
Well, my aspiring message is to get an idea, write it down, look it over again, and you think it's worth developing it, develop it. Don't worry if you get you don't think it's okay. Just experiment with it. Show it to other people. Just say, look, this is what I've written. What do you think of it? And they say, oh, I like this bit, but I don't like this bit. Then you can say, right, then go back, rewrite it again. But keep writing, keep coming up with ideas. Don't ever give up because nothing's wrong, nothing's right.
So, what is your short term and long term goals in writing?
Don't really know. uh, that's my honest answer.
So, Mr. Mark Rains, can you please invite our listeners to support the Seven Contact series? Mr. Mark?
Oh yeah, please support the contact series. Sorry, I thought you should play no music. My first play.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Mark Rains because if you support him, more Seven Contacts to come. So, Mr. Rain or Mr. Mark, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
More to come, people. See you soon. Thank you, Mr. Mark.